right, guys, welcome back to another little behind the scenes session. Today we got Elliot and Kyle here with us with myself and Kurling. They're both designers. They're both creative people, and so we wanted to get their take on a few things. So yeah, here we are. If you're watching this recorded on YouTube, which you probably are because it is a recorded session, feel free to give us a like. Leave a comment down below. Share your thoughts, ask a question. We love to learn from you as much as you might want to learn from us and those individuals that we bring on sessions like this. So if you have a chance to interact with the video in any way, feel free to do so. But I will hand on over to Curling.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. I've been knowing Elliot for a while, but you know what? I knew someone also here that's known Elliot for a while, Kyle.
Yeah.
You can talk a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so me and Elliot actually met back in elementary school, so we've known each other for over a decade. We both were in this Japanese dual language program, so Elliot actually knows to speak a little Japanese.
I love that.
And we also met through playing violin. Elliot, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So both of us sort of have this music background, which has really helped our design just foundations. Just because for us, we sort of see it as having your own like design language of being able to create your own designs the way you interpret it, instead of having some sort of like systematized, rigid way of creating designs. So I think with music, there's sort of this analogy of the theory and the practice of it. And I think a lot of fields do. And I think that, and Kyle can elaborate this on more, but the way that we were practicing music and how we transitioned that into how we learn design, I think is a really interesting topic to dive into.
Yeah, so
love it.
so basically a very common method used to teach little kids violin is the Suzuki method. And basically the whole purpose is that you start at a young age and you kind of learn all these senses of what musicality is like. You start off with sticks and just doing rhythm and stuff. You start off with posture without like actually playing the violin. So you get all the fundamentals down, kind of like design where you want to get the fundamentals down first. And also the fact that you're around designs from a young age. If you're been born in the last like 20 years, you've had a phone for your whole life essentially. And so you know what a good design is or what you don't like in design, what you do like in a design. And it carries a lot into if you want to become a designer. And kind of what we take away from the Suzuki method of design is that you kind of want to go off and utilize your design sense from when you were younger and create something from there. But also a big factor about it too that me and Elliot like to do a lot is group sessions on design, kind of like just kind of going back and forth and figuring out if we like a design and just kind of talking it out, because talking it out helps a lot in violin. If you have group lessons, it helps to listen to the person next to you. And when you're listening to the person next to you, you kind of could like blend away, but also you hear what they sound like in certain parts. You hear how you can see how they're playing a certain part, so you can kind of mimic if they're doing very well. And that's kind of the same thing with design, kind of being able to see what a designer's sense is, and then figuring out what you want to take from that and apply it to yourself.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. I love the jam session analogy. I always will love that. But yeah, Elliot, you can add to it.
Oh yeah, I know for sure. I was looking at just like, I think you sort of see this trend of having more perspectives on the table in like universities and businesses of when you see design now, it's not just the aesthetics of it, it's also just how does it make the user feel? How does it bring them through the experience, and how do you make it the most enjoyable experience is? And to be able to contribute to that, you don't need to have a like quote unquote design background. You can have a background in computer science, in just, I don't know, engineering, business, PR, advertising. Anything can really bring something to the table. And I think that's sort of what the jam sessions are able to bring out.
Yeah, I love. I when I was younger, I used to always watch jazz musicians do things, right? It was so interesting how they would listen. It's kind of this active listening that you're actually always doing. How would you, when you're thinking about design itself, I know you always talk about UI and UX. Explain that, Elliot, how you add those elements of maybe the Suzuki method when you're doing things of that nature.
Yeah. So for me, I view UI sort of as this, what is your intuition towards the aesthetic sense? Whereas UX is more, what's your intuition towards how you empathize with the users and how you empathize how they step through that journey. So I think those two, where the journey, the UX feels more like theory to me, the UI feels more like practice to me.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I'll keep the whole theme of the jam session, right? I know Stephen, we were talking this whole Northrop Grumman, like this kind of jam session you had with them, and what that looked like. Can you give a little synopsis of that story?
Yeah, I love the jam session analogy. Now, of course, my experience is a little more, I guess, engineering versus creative. But yeah, when I was in grad school, went through an interview process with Northrop Grumman. So they had this 3-4 day series of, they brought a huge group of grad students from across the country, a lot of different disciplines, into kind of this one session together. And on one of the days, they broke us up into groups and had us solve, these engineering problems, right? They were facing these problems and needing to build out these solutions. And so you'd put, somebody who had a computer science background, somebody who had, let's say mechanical engineering, civil engineering, somebody who was geotechnical, somebody who, maybe biomedical, right? And you get all these different perspectives on the same problem, right? You might have somebody that, might solve a problem from a civil engineering standpoint, and then somebody from computer science that brings up their perspective on it. And it was, it's really, really cool to kind of have all these people together in this jam session, right? Solving these problems. So it's really interesting, Eliot, you were saying, alluding to, people with UI UX experience, people with engineering background, business. It's really unique when you have people with all these different perspectives in a room together trying to, to solve the same problem, right?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I remember this, I do like jazz, but I also like classical. I remember, Kyle, you had this kind of classical story you were talking about with Bach and things like that. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So kind of where I was going with that was Bach has so many songs, right? So many pieces, and people play them over and over again. People have been playing them since he started composing. And there's a reason why there's not one recording going around that everyone only says, oh, that's the recording for Bach. Bach didn't even play his pieces perfectly. No one can play the pieces perfect. That's the great thing about art. No drawing can be perfect or anything. The whole point of it is every artist who plays a Bach piece plays it in their own, for our design sense, their own musicality taste. They add their own movements with it. Some people may be more movement oriented on stage versus someone may be more focused on tone, or think this one part of the song is more important than the other one. And it just makes it real art. That's the whole point. And design is the same thing. Design is an art. It's not just a job for someone to do. People are looking at it every day. People are utilizing it every day. It really is an art, because you're not going to try to reinvent the button. Who would reinvent the button? Everyone uses the same buttons. The whole point though is to have your own design sense in there. And Eliot told me this really good Picasso quote once. Could you say it? I don't remember it.
I think it took me 4 years to paint like Raphael, and a lifetime to paint like a child, something around those lines.
Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of also going back to the Suzuki method of being a child and really connecting with your own musicality sense when you're younger, your own design sense, because that's when you're it's all nurture then, and you're just like an absorption of intelligence. You're just learning stuff left and right.
I love that. You know what? There's always these things I learned from Eliot. One thing I always learned, Eliot would actually do this kind of active listening during meetings, and he would actually like, is this what you guys wanted? He'd pull it out. So his superpower is always really amazing on that part.
I think there's actually a lot of design teams now where they have their team train with improv, because
nice.
The principles of yes and being able to just sort of go with the flow, I think is really important for those sort of jam sessions.
I love that. I know you've been working with KP and you guys been doing things there. Can you talk a little bit more about your experience there with kind of design and innovation?
Yeah, for sure. I think what's been really cool has been sort of being put in this cohort of similar-minded, similar-aged people who want to put out new products. So just this week alone, there's been 2 people that I personally know pretty well that have launched products. Like one of them is this toolbar app for your desktop where you can click into it and you see your Google Calendar, but without needing the heavy overload of opening up your browser, going to Google Calendar, clicking into the event, and then opening up the Zoom link.
Nice.
And I think what's been really cool is seeing just this group of students who are my age, who have my level of skills, who are able to put out real life products to be able to improve the experience of like the Google Calendar invite. Like something where even though we are just students, there's this potential to create new designs despite how young we are. And I think there's something really powerful to that.
It's also like good artists copy and great artists steal, right? You're literally utilizing the same thing, but you're just making it more efficient.
Right.
No, I like that. I know also too, Kyle, you were talking more about UOI, talking about your design director. He gave you some ideas about interdisciplinary.
Yeah. So, like you said, I go to U of I and I'm a systems engineering major, and I don't get many experiences outside of engineering at U of I, even though I am a part of a consulting group, but that's like the only thing I get that's not in engineering. But recently on my project, I was hooked up with the Siebel Center for Design, which is the new design center at U of I, and I was hooked up with the director because they're working on us on a consulting project. And she was talking to me today about how each user, like everyone thinks that user interface and user design, the most important thing is user interface, and like things look really pretty and stuff, like that's important and all, but no, it's not. It's about the empathy you have. Like Ellie, we're talking about how user design is all empathy based, and how utilizing the only way to have empathy for more than one like disciplinary is to have interdisciplinary people work on it. So U of I is actually creating a major for user interface user design that's focused on interdisciplinary and pretty much bringing together. You get to work with engineering, you can work with media, the college media, you can work with law, you can work with everything. And it's really cool because the whole point, like what it's all tying back together, like us talking about having all these different perspectives, but it really does help, especially when you're, for instance, if I'm making Google, I don't want it just to be for the savvy people. I want it to be useful to the older generation that may not utilize it too much. And so like stuff like that really helps to have different perspectives on it.
No, that's great. Even I know you talked about even the consulting clubs, just having that experience. I think even being younger, I wish I was part of consulting clubs when I was little, because that would probably give me some knowledge on that part. But I know USC has that 577 program, Stephen, that you're a part of. You can do a little shout out on USC, and Eliot, after that, you can give a little shout out on like other stuff like IB and Young's too.
Yeah. Shout out to USC. Yeah, they have some great programs within that school, and they're always doing a lot of creative ways. Kurling, I know you mentioned, and Eliot, you mentioned some cool things that they're doing now as far as people's individual tracks and different schools. I know when I went to USC, of course, I was in engineering, computer science. They have this course called 577 where they bring in a group of computer science students and you'd solve problems, real world problems, right? They might have been pitched by a startup, by an alumni, whatever that may be. And it was always interesting seeing different people's perspectives and things on solving the same problem, even within something like computer science, right? So you're narrowing the field, but computer science is by itself so broad, right? So you might have somebody who has some great UX experience to bring to the table, right? And you might have somebody who has some amazing experience building web apps, right? Or somebody who's done a lot of business case stuff, let's say for companies through internships. And each one of those people are going to bring in their own unique perspectives, and it's really cool to see what groups of people like that come up with as far as solutions to problems.
Eliot, one thing that you guys talked about earlier about is this little session that you and Kyle do with Figma. Can you guys explain what that process looks like?
Yeah. Kyle, you want to go for it?
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, since I'm a relatively newer to design than Eliot, he's able to give me advice on creating my portfolio pieces. And since he
And
already
he doesn't charge you, Kyle?
now he doesn't charge me, even though he keeps telling me to charge me. But although I did tell him to put money into Nokia at some point.
Okay,
He did make
nice.
like $2,000 on it. So
All right,
so that's his
okay.
payment.
That's his payment.
Yep. And basically, what I'd ask him to do is I'd ask him when he's free, and then I send him the Figma link, which is really cool about Figma, and there's a bunch of other boards like this too, like Miro and stuff, where I can actively work on my screen, and he can see it and also work on the screen at the same time. Like we could be creating two different. He could be creating the the landing page side, like on a computer. I could be building on a mobile app. And it's really cool to be able to do that. And basically what we'll do is he'll go through my design and he'll be like, oh, I think this is a cool thing that you did. I think you should change this. I think this would be a cool alternative. So we get all these different perspectives. And one of the recent apps that we did was if me and him would open up a design studio. And basically we wanted to be really minimalist because all the design studios we've seen have too much on their website. And we just wanted to be straight to the point. They could see our portfolio and hire us if they want to, but was missing something. It was missing kind of the Elliot and Kyle, the feeling of it. So we
Nice.
decided the company is technically named Tap. And so basically if you tap the tap button, it'll redesign the whole page to memes, like
Nice.
glorified memes. And Ellie was talking about how we should go for what exactly is a meme at hand and to try to recreate that with our individualistic things. So we have like our League of Legends stats on there so they can go
Nice.
roast us. I think I literally have written in there like come int with us, meaning like we'll do badly in the game, but you can play with us and we'll do badly with you too.
Nice.
And then also we'll have like Dogecoin on there because me and him are avid followers of Dogecoin.
That's
Shout
solid.
out for that. But yeah, Elliot, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, no, I think like for me, I usually look at either like music or writing to my designs, and I know that Google Docs also has the collaborative tool.
That's
so
a good point.
Figma is sort of just this more robust version of that. Of instead of just this place where you can edit text, you can put text anywhere you want on this canvas. You can create new frames for like web, for apps, for just any sort of canvas that you want, and you can create new surfaces for you to add designs to.
Nice.
And I think what's nice is that even when you're working together asynchronously, you can still add notes to the side where they can come back and they see, oh, these are the notes, and you can still have that jam session even offline.
That's great. That's great. And you know, I'm thinking, Elliot, I was gonna throw this little thing in. I know you can speak a little Japanese because we're gonna try to wrap it up. You want to use a little?
Remember.
Come on. 僕の名前はEliot君です. That's like basically my entire vocab of Japanese. Just like my name is Elliot.
Kyle, you got anything with Japanese you can wrap it up with?
I'll just say sayonara to say bye, or ganbare everyone, ganbare, banzai. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Elliot, you said maybe we could do a kind of part 2 on this. What would we get in part 2? What were you thinking about?
Yeah. So I know Kyle brought up the meme designs we've been trying to integrate into our studio's website. And I think that there's sort of this new trend of very informal designs that feel more like you're sending it to a friend, and it feels more like a meme. So I think we can definitely look into just what are trends that are upcoming in design, whether it's from the meme point of view or maybe like AR, VR, and just the future of products and the design that comes with it. But I think there's lots to come with like the trends in design coming up.
I like that, Elliot. Kyle, thanks for coming on. You know, your insight's been great, Elliot. I just imagining what your recesses look like when you guys talking about Picasso and Bach and design challenges, all this stuff like that.
Yeah, so mature for our age. So mature.
Exactly.
No, it's mainly just memes.
Just memes.
It still is.
It's great. It's great. Stephen, you can just wrap it up for us, but thank you, Stephen, also.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Elliot, for coming on and sharing some wisdom with us today, sharing some great stories and and getting some laughs. Yeah, for those of you watching, feel free to give us a like. Feel free to hit that like button. Leave a comment down below. You know, share your thoughts, ask a question. We want to learn from you as much as you might want to learn from us and those we bring on shows like this. So feel free to do so. And every interaction we get with videos like this helps push it out to more people. So if you found something really cool, really insightful, really funny from the video today, from Kyle and Eliot and our whole discussion, feel free to interact with it anyway, because it could push it out to somebody else who, you know, might find it equally as insightful, right? But as always, we will see you in the next video.